This story has creeped me out. It has haunted me in my sleep. I'm Bailey. Welcome to my corner of the internet. I hope you're all doing well today. Please take a moment, like, subscribe, and let me know where you're coming from. Thank you all so much for all the love and support. I'm going to tell you the story to the best of my ability, taking very public information and filtering it through my own unprofessional opinion. Please do your own research and form your own opinion. As uncomfortable as it is for us to talk about these stories, imagine how difficult it is for everyone affected. We owe it to them to acknowledge their unbearable experiences, learn something from it, and to raise awareness. Today's riddle: what disappears as soon as you say its name? On May 22nd, 2019, in Sturgis, Michigan, around midnight, 911 received an anonymous call reporting that they would find the body of a missing 42-year-old Kelly Jean Warner Miller, also known as KJ. KJ went missing in April 2019. It seemed normal for her to go long periods without checking in. She was estranged from her family and she had some untreated mental health struggles. Police showed up at the address provided by the anonymous caller. Wade Allen was awakened by police beating at his door. Wade and KJ knew each other from a homeless shelter in Kalamazoo. The police asked Wade if he had seen KJ, and he replied that he hadn't heard from her in a while and that the best way to contact her is through the shelter. He lost touch with KJ after she suddenly stopped responding to his Facebook messages. Officers asked to come in to verify that she wasn't in the home. Wade refused, citing his apartment as a mess. They assure him that they aren't looking at the mess, they just want to confirm that KJ is not in the apartment. The officers informed Wade that if he refused consent, he would have to obtain a search warrant and detain him during this process, and that could take a few hours. Eventually, Wade agrees to let one of the officers into the apartment. As they walk through the apartment, the officer notices a large green cooler in the corner of the room. The officer asks Wade what is in the cooler and if he can look inside. Wade says, "Oh, it's just for summer parties, and I don't want to open it right now." The officer persists, and Wade continues to refuse. This goes back and forth for some time, and then the officer tells Wade to throw on some shoes and that he's just going to be detained while they wait for that search warrant. As Wade and the officers stand in the hallway, Wade decides to allow the officer back into the apartment. The officer checks the fridge as they return to the large cooler, kind of like to say, okay, well, KJ's not in the fridge. Wade continues, insisting that it is just for the summer. As they get close to the cooler, Wade suddenly changes his mind and says that they actually need to obtain a warrant. So the officers take Wade down to a patrol car. Wade is quite uncomfortable with the turn of events. He goes back and forth with the officers once more. Wade concedes to letting the officers continue the search. Wade silently led the officer back into the apartment and to the cooler. The officer lifts the lid and is met with the overwhelming stench of decomposition. Immediately, he is detained. He's arrested, right? They began searching the apartment while other officers escorted Wade to the police station. The officers offered Wade some cookies, which he accepted as they started the interview. Side note, he continued eating those cookies while explaining what has happened and what he has done. Wade tells the officers that he and KJ met in 2013 and that KJ lived with him in his apartment. He says KJ had fallen while making cereal back in March. He says KJ was unconscious for about 5 to 10 minutes and it affected her daily life. She struggled with eating and drinking. Even moving around was difficult. He said she struggled controlling her bladder. Wade's neighbor, Sherry, came in to speak with law enforcement. She says she and Wade had a cordial relationship. They even spent some time together in the evenings just watching TV in her apartment. One night, he told her that KJ had fallen in the bathroom and that she might even have a skull fracture. This made Sherry feel uneasy. He also confided in Sherry that he hit women, but that he was working on that. After that, Sherry remained friendly, but backed off visiting with Wade. Meanwhile, officers back at the apartment began to process the crime scene. They found bungee cords, trash bags, a white ribbon, green girl shoes, clear safety goggles, rubber gloves, and a black belt. Wade told the officers about KJ taking a bath. He started it with hot water and then he walked out of the bathroom. He admitted that he didn't know how she would turn off the water or adjust it. The officers asked him, "When did you return to check on her? Was the water still running? Did it overflow? If this was an accident, why didn't you just call 911?" Speaking of 911, who called 911 anonymously? They must have had credible information to provide. The caller was Wade's best friend, Stephen Ryan Russ. Stephen said his family feared Wade and was having trouble sleeping. Wade sent Stephen Facebook messages saying he did something, but Stephen couldn't talk about it. Wade tells his best friend that KJ passed away unexpectedly and he didn't report her death to the police. Wade asked Stephen to help him move the body into his car. Stephen said, "Look, I'll keep your secret, but I won't help you." Soon after, Stephen stopped by Wade's apartment. Wade asked Stephen, "So, do you want to see the body?" Stephen said, "No, I don't want anything to do with that." Back to Wade's creepy confession. He says he woke up and would run the cold water on her to preserve the body and to slow down decomp. Wade even kept saying that his confession was gross. He said she was movable for a couple of days. On April 12th, around 6 days after KJ died, Wade had saved up enough money to buy the large cooler, air freshener, and 30-gallon trash bags. He goes on to explain that he realized her body was too big for the first cooler and needed to purchase another cooler and dismember her. Now, Wade wasn't the smartest, if you couldn't tell. He asked his neighbor, Sherry, if he could borrow a saw from her to cut his mattress in half. She said no. When he couldn't use anyone else's saw, he had to go purchase his own. Now, police did not find the saw at his home. Wade says after he dismembered KJ's body, he contacted a friend that he knew from the shelter. He traded the saw for a DVD player. The man known as Bill says that Wade seemed desperate to get rid of the saw. Bill says that when he went to pick up the saw from Wade's apartment, a terrible smell hit him as soon as he walked in. Later, he noticed that there was a chunk of something in the blade. Police wind up getting that saw from him. They took a DNA test of that chunk that was in the saw and confirmed that it was a piece of KJ. Sherry, the neighbor, told officers that she had very few interactions with KJ. One day, she stopped by Wade's apartment to ask for coffee. KJ was the one who opened the door. KJ was naked and she stayed hidden behind the door. She told Sherry that she would send Wade over. Wade was furious. He told Sherry that KJ had crossed a line and that she should not have opened the door like that. Sherry assured him that she didn't see anything. He states, "I'm just going to have to get the belt out." Wade admits to the officers that he hurt KJ because he was ashamed that she cheated on him. He only saw her cry twice when he left her alone and twice from physical pain. Detectives asked if he had caused the physical pain. He was reluctant, but he finally agreed. He told officers her lips may be messed up and the bruises on her ankles are because of her balance issues and her ankles always rolled. Officers asked when was the last time he used the belt on her. He said it was a day or two before she had died. He said he started using the belt because he didn't want to use his hands anymore. Wade tells the officers he wants to know what they will do with her because he wants to visit her. Following his interrogation, police received several statements from his cellmates. Now, you guys, this is gross. They explained Wade shared every gruesome detail about what happened to KJ. He told them that he tied the white ribbon around her neck. He would watch the clock for 5 minutes. Then he would bring her back to life by giving her CPR. He would tell her, "You're gonna die by someone that loves you and not by someone that hates you." Investigators discovered that KJ's last Facebook message was to Wade on March 18th, the same day she suddenly dropped all activity. The message read, "I love you, you are mine, and I am yours forevermore. I know that you can't reply, but I wanted to tell you this every day." His cellmates claim that Wade had a jealous and controlling streak, which is when KJ's life changed drastically. After she confided in a mutual friend about their relationship, his friend had a conversation with Wade, and said that KJ had told his girlfriend that Wade was being too rough with her sexually. Wade was furious because his sexual matters were personal and not to be shared with friends. From that day on, when he went to work, he started tying her up and leaving her in a closet. He gagged her with a washcloth wrapped around a screwdriver so she couldn't yell and scream. KJ initially fought back against Wade's mistreatment. When she threatened to go to the police, it only got worse. He started tying her up and keeping her where she couldn't go anywhere. According to his cellmates, the truth behind KJ's torture was so brutal that it kept them up at night, and the men took shifts sleeping. His cellmate said that after Wade choked KJ to the brink of death, she lost her motor functions, the ability to speak and control her bowels and bladder. And she remained alive and helpless for about 2 weeks before her death. It was described that she didn't talk again, but he did get her to breathe again. He would put his hand over her face and nose to see if she had died yet, but it was like she didn't want to die. He even seemed to regard her suffering as an inconvenience for him. She wouldn't eat, so he would beat her with the belt to try to get her to wake up. He was lying in bed one day and felt the need to take a torch and to burn her tongue and her upper and lower private areas so that she would never have pleasure from another man again. He boiled water, put her in the bathtub, and poured scalding hot water on her feet to see any movement. She didn't move, she didn't scream, she couldn't do anything. He said it was so hot that it actually burned her skin off. Since she was not bothered by it anymore, he had to keep going and just take it further. No matter what Wade did to her, she had no movement. Eventually, she finally passed on. Wade would warm her body in the bathtub. He would then have relationships with her body. And then he would put her back in the bathtub in cold water to slow the decomposition. Wade said that it was rough at first, but eventually her jaw opened up and he had to take advantage of that before he had to chop her up. He said that he was hoping that her decomposing in the coolers would hide the bruises. KJ's autopsy revealed multiple areas of bruising, including her chin, neck, ear, and hyoid bone, which is at the top of the neck, right underneath your chin. This is considered a strong indicator of strangulation due to the rarity of fractures from other types of trauma. Ultimately, her death was ruled as a homicide by unspecified means. According to his cellmates, Wade made jokes about it. He said he was proud of his actions and even nicknamed himself Chops and said he hoped to write a book. Despite Wade's claims that no one wanted her, KJ had a family concerned about her well-being and wanted to see her happy in life. Unfortunately, the first 2 searches of Wade's apartment were deemed unconstitutional because Wade may have felt threatened. It was also discovered that police officers falsely claimed to notice an odor coming from Wade's apartment. Although Wade's defense aimed to suppress the evidence obtained, the appellate court ultimately ruled against them, stating that the discovery of the coolers was inevitable with the warrant, which at this point was already justified. In 2023, Wade was convicted of M in the second degree, as well as of a dead body. He pled no contest and was sentenced to 39 to 60 years in prison. But Wade's brutality didn't stop with KJ. He was also convicted of third-degree criminal conduct after assaulting a fellow inmate in 2020. That was one of the guys that had spoken out against him. All right, you guys, that's it for me today. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe. I appreciate you all so, so much. Before I leave you, a riddle. What disappears as soon as you say its name? Silence. Let me know your thoughts below. We must avoid looking the other way and saying it isn't my business. We need to step up together because it is our business.